Hey there, fans, folks, families, and friends. If you are joining us this Family Day evening, then of course you have put the Scotties on pause. You have gathered all of your family members around and you have tuned in to our live broadcast or recorded if you're coming back to it afterwards here on Curling Alberta's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Asmussen. I am here in Edmonton, Alberta in my own home here, and I welcome you into our digital home here at our platform with the home end. Now we've got some exciting stuff going on at Curling Alberta. We've got some exciting things going on in the province, and we have 4 amazing individuals that I can't wait to sit down with and hear all about their experiences this past season. They have a ton of wealth and knowledge in the sport. They have come fresh out of a national championship. They have balanced out their lives over the last couple of weeks to be able to put things into perspective. And then, of course, we're going to welcome in them into our home end, and so we can find out a little bit about what goes on with curling in their home end. Now, it is our Family Day broadcast, and I really want to highlight and thank you all for taking some time today with your families or set aside with your families to join us. We know that curling is a community. We know that families are so important, and we always say it, but it's truly hard to show it. And as athletes and as people in the curling community, they're often the people who get thanked the very last, but the magnitude of their support, our family's support, is so important. And it's something that's priceless and invaluable because it allows us to have sport and have curling be lifelong. And so we truly want to thank those of you who participate, give your time, and commit to curling as a family, because it does encourage all of us to be able to stay in it, create community, and then, of course, continue on with it for as long as we can. So from my family to yours, and also to my family, thank you for allowing me and for the people around us to do what we do. It allows us to really find value in the sport and find our own community within community. So thank you so much. Now, before we begin, I would love to start off with our land acknowledgement here. And so I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the Indigenous people of all the lands that we are on today. And while we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands, which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can each in our own way try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. And so before our show begins and before we get into the meat and potatoes and before I sit down with what is in itself its own curling family, especially after the time that they spent together at the U18 National Championship in Ottawa, I want to highlight some of the amazing things that have gone on in our province thus far. We're currently experiencing one right now. So to the 28 viewers that are joining, I'm hoping that you're here for Abby, Emma, Jackson, and Peter. But if you are coming in later on, because you're watching the Scotties, of course, we are cheering on Team Sturmey as they sit 3-0 and currently playing Saskatchewan right now. And I know they are in for a battle tonight, but of course, this win will set them up for success moving on into what is a very, very unique playoff bracket at the Scotties. And we're going to touch up on that a little bit with our guests moving on. We also want to highlight some of our other members. So Team Plet and Team Tau, they're at the World Championships in Finland right now. Both are Alberta teams. And we saw Chloe and Ali a few weeks ago on our broadcast before they left for the World Championship, but coming back from the Youth Olympics. And so both teams are currently sitting at a winning record. Team Plet is at 3-2. They just defeated Japan this evening, our time. 7-5. They had to steal the extra end or the last end to win. So kudos to them. They're sitting at 3rd place. And Team Tau right now is in a 3-way tie for 2nd, currently at 3-1. And they just defeated China 6-3 in their last or their previous draw. So we're really rooting for great success. A great standing here at that World Championship would also secure Canada into that future championship rather than having to go through the World Junior B rankings. So we really want them to have a great showing so that they're able to pass on the legacy forward to another Canadian team, and hopefully one or more of our guests that are joining us today. Also, this past weekend, actually, which finished up today, was the Alberta Winter Games. And that was held in Grand Prairie, Alberta. And for those of you who haven't been to Grand Prairie or who know a little bit about the Grand Prairie Curling Club, it's a marvelous facility, newly renovated. It has a great community that backs it. The city itself backs the Grand Prairie community and the curling community really, really well. And they have played host to the variety of zones and the variety of teams that have entered and won their right to play down in the Alberta Winter Games. And from somebody who has played in Arctic Winter Games in my youth, I have to tell you that those opportunities, Alberta Winter Games, Canada Winter Games, Arctic Winter Games, if you have the opportunity to play in them, if you have the opportunity to take your kids to them, expose your athletes, your young athletes, or your families to those kinds of competitions, both the playoff competition to get into it, or have the great privilege to play in one of those events, the community behind it and the sporting event itself just emulates and simulates such great competition at such a young age. And the Alberta Winter Games is U15, which is another opportunity and accessibility for younger athletes to participate in a really wonderful competition and to get your foot in the door, but also get our young people experiencing what this world of curling competitively can look like at a young age and what it can look like moving forward, because they do simulate a lot of our championships provincially here in the province and also nationally too as well. It's also a great feeling being a part of a greater sport community too as well. And so having the opportunity to play in those events brings sport together. It is diverse. It brings technique and skill and conversation that is cross-sport or that is unique to other sports into our sports to be able to compare and contrast and to really learn from one another. It's also just a really great time. I've already been hearing stories from my students about their time in wrestling or in other avenues of sport in Grand Prairie. And so I would just make sure that if you have that opportunity in the future for your young ones, to please take that opportunity and try to do it, because it really is a good time. It's really a great way to get that taste for competition. Now, it's time to actually meet our guests for today. And I just sat down with them prior to starting the live stream and we chatted a little bit. We kind of went over a few things, and today is going to be a unique broadcast because we're going to do it panel style, which means that our four guests are going to join us and they are going to share a little bit of their insights around some of the ideas and topics that I have for them today. They are the expert and I'm just here to sit back and to guide the conversation. What will happen is they will be on spotlight. So hopefully you will see them up front and center as they're sharing their stories and their expertise. And hopefully you take a keen listening ear to what they have to say, because they are bringing a wealth of knowledge, maybe a little bit of nerves, but a wealth of knowledge about the sport and about curling in our province. So without further ado, I want to welcome Abby, and I'm going to bring Abby in, and Emma, and Jackson, and Peter. Wonderful. Hi, everybody. How's it going tonight?
Good.
There we go. Good. Just good. I know that you probably want to either be watching the Scotties or it's probably on in the background, or maybe I'm going to see your glancing eyes moving over to your screens once in a while, and that's totally okay. But I truly thank you for stepping away from your families for a hot second to come and join us this evening and to talk a little bit about your experiences as a young athlete and one of the greatest leaders and great leaders in our province right now in junior sport and U18 sport. Tonight is a very unique night because not only is it Family Day, but also the four of you have come together because of your past experience at the U18 Championship, which you all shared. Something that is really interesting because most national championships usually have one Alberta team represent on the national stage. And the U18 championship provides the opportunity for some provinces to have multiple teams. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say around that complexity and also how it's allowed you to excel in the sport. So I'm going to put you on spotlight mode. Perfect. That's right. Now, because I'm up here first. All right. So we're going to get into panel discussion, and I'll just give you some topics. And what I'll do is I'll direct you, I'll call on one of you, and then if just the rest of us want to take an opportunity, I'll just say your names and then you'll be able to kind of maneuver it. But don't hesitate to talk to one another. It'll be a fun night for all of us. All right. Okay. So Abby, Emma, Jackson, and Peter, you just competed at the U18 National Championships in Ottawa. It's something that has transformed over time. We used to know these championships as the Optimist International, and now this is kind of transformed into more of a national championship with greater exposure to more provinces and territories, but also an opportunity for more teams to compete and more teams to compete out of different provinces. You are the skips of your teams. And so Abby, just start us off. How did you end up in this role as skip? Where are you from? How is your team configured? Let us know a little bit about who your team is and where they play out of and what they do.
Okay, awesome. So we kind of came together all as individuals at the start of the season. So myself, I'm from Lacombe Curling Club. And then we have Anna Bakos out of the Saville Center. And then Haley Adams plays second, and she is out of the Ellerslie. And then Faith Thomas plays lead, and she's out of the Airdrie Curling Club. And yeah, it was a super good experience. Lots of fun this past week.
And Emma, just tell us a little bit about where your team is from, some of your positions, and also your role as a skip on your team.
So we are two sets of sisters. So I play with my older sister, Morgan. She is 2 years older than me. And then Emma and Sarah Yarmich are from Sherwood Park. So they play out of the Saville Curling Club. And yeah, Morgan and I curl out of the Lacombe Curling Club as well. Yeah, and at the beginning of the season, we were competitors for a lot of years, and we decided that we wanted to play together. So yeah.
And I noticed that you said that you're two sets of sisters. So thinking about the family aspect, and I know Abby too as well, your siblings play too. Was this a part of the grand plan, siblings on sibling, or was it just the way it magically happened?
I think it was kind of just the way that it happened. And it ends up working great because we only really have two families on our team. So it's really easy to our team really is just like a family because yeah, there's not very many of us, but
that's a neat dynamic. And Jackson, I know that your team, unlike Abby and Emma's teams, your team is kind of all sprawled out over the place, from what I understand. So tell us a little bit about how that works and how you all come together.
Yeah, so we actually met our third Evan Henniger at Nationals last year. Me and Nate did, and we convinced him to come up to Alberta this year to play. And then so he's in the U of A at school in Edmonton here. And then I met Nate kind of just through the tour throughout the years, just competing. And then he's also here in Edmonton. And then I'd known Arlene Verrick just for a few years from my hometown, Sexsmith, Alberta, and kind of just seen each other at the rink. And then our coach as well, when I used to play with Cortland Sonnenberg, he was our coach then as well. And so, yeah, we have a lot of travel together, and we haven't played as much probably Spiel as a lot of other teams have this year just because of the difference. So with that, we've just decided to use a lot of training weekends. The three of us, me, Evan, and just me, Evan, and Nate can train together all week, and then we're on call all the time with Les as well. So it's been a little bit different this year, but we made it work.
Now, we're hearing from Jackson that they're from all over the place coming together and taking the time to find pathways to be able to compete and train. We know that Abby and Emma They have different complexities that allow them to create some lineation within their community and also within the families. Peter, your team, how do you compete? How are you able to come together? Are you a community-based team, or are you also from all over the place and just trying to find ways to meld and mesh and bring your competitive to kind of one apex?
So our team is all sort of from the Edmonton area, and
Okay.
3/4 of us have been together for quite a few years. I think this will be our 4th year with Parker and Noah. And then this year, Lucas Sawiak joined our team and came on as 3rd. And I think that's really helped us to sort of elevate our game, sort of like a missing piece for our team. And it's really helped us this year to win a lot more games and perform a lot better at more bonspiels.
Well, it's so neat you listening to the four of you kind of talk about the complexity of your team, because one thing that I'm noticing in the work that I do and in conversation with people and families across the curling community is how curling has changed from being community-based, where the people that you curl with are right from your own home club. You maybe grew up with them, you went to school with them, and we're starting to notice that curling is changing not only in the home, but also how team complexities are brought together and how people kind of form teams. And so that raises the question for a lot of us, what is going to make a successful team? Because we know that we're not growing up necessarily alongside these teammates anymore from start to finish, and we're not going along life in the same pattern. So Emma, what makes your team uniquely special, or what gives you that championship drive? I mean, you've been so successful. All four of you have been so successful with your teams. What is it that makes your team that unique, that championship team?
I feel like our team has a little bit of an advantage when it comes to like coming together as like the four of us, because we are like the two sets of sisters. So we kind of like, we know each other very well, and we know what each other needs to play. And yeah, so it's been really, I feel like it's been pretty easy to like come together as four, and then just knowing each other, it helps us excel and keep playing the best that we can. And then it also helps that we all have like the same goals. Yeah.
Now, I asked the one extending question. How did you know which roles were going to be? Because I know growing up, sometimes it's just the older person. When we play with a community-based team, we got the older person because they're older and maybe naturally more experienced. But how did your two sets of siblings come up with the roles?
So Morgan actually used to skip, and like we have played together for ever, so like ever since our juniors started. So Morgan used to skip, and that was like what it was. It was the older sister was in the skip position. But then 2 years ago, we were going to go to provincials, and Morgan ended up getting really sick, so she couldn't go and play. So I was thrown into the position of skip, and I played that week as skip, and I just loved it. And we felt like it was a better fit. And then, so the next season we ended up switching, and she played third for me. And then, yeah. And then with joining Emma and Sarah, Emma had skipped her own team for all of her junior career so far as well. And we decided that I was going to skip and she was going to play third, and it's just worked out for us. So
see, and that's so interesting because Abby, from what I understand, you and your sister also curl, but you have different teams too as well, and your family is quite involved in the curling community too. So how are you able to, I guess, come together as a team yourself, and how did you form your team to be this championship team?
Yeah, so my sister and I have played together before. 2 years ago we played together, and then we also play on the same high school team, but she's still eligible for U15, so she kind of plays both, whatever. Yeah. And then for me, our team kind of formed because we all had similar goals. We were all at this similar level. So with us all having, for three of us, it was our last year of U18, so it seemed like the perfect fit. All four of us, we kind of all found each other.
See, and that's something so unique to our sport is because many of our athletes who are starting at a young age can also play different levels too as well. And so I guess the question is like, how do we manage being able to be on multiple teams? And Peter, you said that you brought in a new player this year that, or in the past couple of years, that has really changed some of the dynamics on your team. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we brought in Lucas Sowiak this year, and he had some experience in nationals last year. Obviously, he won it with Team Davies, and so we were really able to rely on his experience and knowledge in the moments where we haven't really been there before the rest of the team, and it's been really helpful for us to sort of not really have to go through like that whole learning curve ourselves and have someone who's already been there to help us.
You know, and I think when we're thinking about looking down the road, and Peter, you really alluded to it really well. You talked about having somebody on your team who has that experience. And we're starting to look right now because the Scotties and the Briar are in our scope. They're what we see right now. And we're looking at these super teams. And so we see these hometown teams. We see these teams that have been on tour for years. And then we also see these super teams. Jaxon, your team is from all over the place too. But you talked about some expertise coming out of the north and how that has kind of guided you into, even though you're in a different place, in a different hometown, you're able to come together and manage that as to being a strength, a rewarding strength. So tell us a little bit more about how you navigate that and turn it into success.
Yeah, it's been a really cool experience for us this year. And what I wanted to do after, we got to get back to nationals last year is I just wanted to find a team that, could align with the goals that I had and what I felt like I could set myself up for the best success. And Alberta is a really tough province to get out of. And so I knew going into that, I was like, I saw a lot of teams last year at nationals that had brought people from different provinces and got to meet some really cool people there. And so we got that opportunity. I know I definitely wanted to capitalize on that. And yeah, it's taken a really big adjustment for me this year. I've been used to just living in small towns and I just moved to Sherwood Park last year. So I've always only been like a 5 to 20 minute drive away from my team. And this year it's just really been, we've had to learn how to navigate just Zoom calls are our thing every single week and being on
Right.
phone calls with my coach and things like that. And it's just been yeah, it's been super cool to see what other teams are doing. I mean, every team can do things differently and it can work out for all of us. And I think it's cool to see the other three here too, because we all come from very different teams, but we've all been able to have success as well. And yeah, for us, it's just been a lot of learning and saying, this is all what we've done in the past and figuring out what can work best for us and just bringing all those different experiences together.
Well, Jaxon, you said it best in saying that there is no real framework for a team. And so you kind of have to figure out what's going to work and scaffold it appropriately for your own goals and to highlight, where you're all at too as well. And we talk a lot about resources and what a team needs to be successful. And as we listen into big broadcast and we hear about these teams throughout the slam events or throughout the season of champions, we often get an idea of what's accessible to some of our elite teams, but we often don't recognize what's accessible for some of our younger athletes or our developing athletes. And so I'm super curious, out of your own minds and out of your own experiences, what does your team do? Who do you access? What resources do you have available to be championship teams? And Peter, I know that Lucas was a huge addition to your team, but what other resources do you access to be able to be successful?
We have a really good coach, Reg Reinhardt. He has lots of experience with, he's coached teams for many years at the provincial level. So we've really been able to get lots of knowledge and information from him, and he's been able to help us develop over the last couple of years. And then also this year we started working with a mental performance coach, and she's really helped us to sort of keep our minds in the right place during the game, not get too down on ourselves, and know what we need to do mentally to give ourselves the best chance to succeed.
Those are all really wonderful resources. Abby, what does your team access as you're kind of navigating the year, or do you have resources that are available to you?
Yeah, so the Lacombe Curling Club and Darren Molding have been super helpful. And because we're all kind of spread over around Alberta, it's all kind of working with your own clubs and whatever. And when we can, getting together, and we have video calls like every week, and we've worked with mental coaches as well. But yeah, Darren Molding has been super supportive of our team, so that's been pretty helpful to get us to where we are.
You know what? When I was growing up, my parents were ice makers at the Manning Curling Club, and I actually had my own key. And it's just these little relationships or these little connections that can be so advantageous. But obviously, not everybody grows up that way. And you highlighted a really great resource in an ice maker or in your own community club. I think we forget that sometimes, that our clubs want to see us successful, and so they would even make or go out that extra mile to be able to support us. Jaxon, you spent a lot of time on Zoom. That's a resource we have in 2024 in our digital age, but there's got to be more to your success. So fill us in.
Yeah, so I've been blessed to have Les Renee Sonnenberg as my coaches and just supporters for a lot of years. And yeah, Les has been to a lot of provincial championships and had a lot of experience with that. And blessed to have Renee, who's part of the national program with Curling Canada, and been super grateful for that. And then as well, we curled at the Shark Park Curling Club. And with that, I've been able to meet Heather and David Nedowin, who have just been instrumental in the last couple of years of any support I need. And yeah, it's just been amazing. And then as well, whenever I go back up north, Dalen Vavrick and Mike Vavrick, he gave me my first fair curling shoes. It's Evan Skip as well, and yeah, they let me throw whenever I need, and they have for my whole career, and that's been super grateful. And yeah, and then I also just working with sports psychologists as well, and that was new to me last year, and it's just probably been one of the best things. It was just allowed me to enjoy the game a lot more and just like not worry about as much things and just be able to be a kid and have fun while I'm curling still.
Well, and you said something really nice at the end there, like to just be a kid and to have fun curling, but also a part of that development is being a kid and learning how to connect back to your community and access those resources. It's a great skill to be able to ask for help. I say it as a teacher all the time. If you're able to ask for help, the learning is going to keep going and keep extending. And Emma, you have great resources in siblings being on the same team, and then that also creates some convenience, maybe some complexities, but some conveniences. So outside of just being able to lineate with two families moving forward into a season, what other resources does your team access to be able to be successful?
So we also use a sports psychologist, and she's been great all season with helping us. And then we are also very fortunate, as with the Lacombe Curling Club, Darren Molding is always willing to help and always willing to give ice and always encouraging. And then I'm also really lucky because my uncle is Colin Hodgson. So he is also very open and willing to help, and whenever he's home, he's wanting to be on the ice with us and helping us out. So
it's just so interesting to hear all of your perspectives on it, because it seems like a lot of the things that we've been hearing from our elite athletes are slowly starting to make sense to our younger teams, our communities, around what is actually needed. It's not just getting out there and throwing a million rocks. It's having purpose, and those other resources can provide that purpose for us. And it's actually really funny that you said that you both access, you and Abby play out of the Lacombe Curling Club, and you have access to that resource, because it reminded me of something at the U18 championships. From what I understand, I think it was Jaxon and Peter, you guys played each other at the U18 championship. And so you all ended up with quarterfinal finishes, which is phenomenal in itself. And you've probably played against each other a million times throughout the season. But what are you starting to notice from other competitors in other provinces? Emma, I know that you are the reigning champion. You won the provincial championship, and so in that quarterfinal loss, obviously disappointing, but also you would have noticed what these other teams are doing. What are you starting to see from these teams in other provinces or spaces that are making them competitive?
Yeah, I just being in the nationals atmosphere, it's such an amazing experience, and just seeing the level of competitiveness and skill from the other provinces, it's just really eye-opening, and being it shows where we need to push ourselves to get to where we want to be and to get better. And like they're just so precise, and yeah.
Well, and Peter, coming out of your provincial win, and I believe it was over Jackson too as well, but coming out of your provincial win and then transitioning to the national championship, what are you starting to notice between what your competitors are like in the province versus what your competitors are like on the national stage?
I think Alberta is a really strong province for curling, so it wasn't like we were facing like a whole nother level at nationals. I think we'd already
Okay.
faced some really strong competition within Alberta.
Yeah.
And I think either of the Alberta teams that went had a really good shot at winning nationals. It was just unfortunate we both lost in the quarterfinals, just had a couple of tough games. But
Right.
I think that Alberta is definitely a very strong province for curling, in that it's definitely not like we're facing teams we can't beat at nationals. Just have to make
Mhm.
sure that when we come to those playoff games, that just on our A game always. You can't take any team lightly ever.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And Abby too as well. That quarterfinals, it's a great accomplishment in itself. Thinking about trying to get to the next stage and the next national championship, is there something that you take home from competing against some of those top teams at nationals?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody there we're all right up there. Everybody's using their resources in their province, working hard to get there. And I definitely think, we just didn't find that next level in that quarterfinal game, which was unfortunate, but we learned a lot. Definitely new strategy too, taking some bits of other people's strategies back that hopefully will work well for our team. But yeah, honestly, mostly the strategy, taking that away from there.
It's neat to see how some of our competitors play the game or their perspective on it. And Jackson, you have great resources in some of your colleagues and some of your coaching. What was something that was maybe new or something that really confirmed, that success at the national level for you at U18s?
Yeah, I was super fortunate. I had to go in 2019, and I think one of the things I just noticed is like teams that get a go from certain provinces who might not have as much depth, 5 years ago, they're a little bit easier to beat, and that's not the case now. Like these teams have learned how to play at nationals, and each year they've gotten better and better in ways to find to elevate their game. And I think for us, it was like we knew that we were capable of doing well that week, but it just went down to execution. And I've seen
Right.
in a lot of these teams that it's like at the end of the week that they're just finding ways to elevate their game, and just seeing how other people train and what they're doing as well. And it's been super cool, and we're blessed to be able to do it. Like I think we can all agree it was such an honor to be able to represent Alberta this last week, and we all had amazing times. And it was, yeah, we all did very well in the round robin, and it was just pretty cool to see that, like in the quarterfinals, like how some of these teams, they just treat it like a business, and like you could tell they were there to do a job, and they got it
Right.
done. So definitely taking all of that back for next year and hopefully the years to come.
That's such a unique perspective. I mean, it's so easy to just fall back on ourselves and talk about execution and talk about, our own individual performance or our team performance sometimes. But to have that worldly view and look at our competitors and go, they're doing something maybe not different, but just the way they approached that moment. And often it is just a moment because we're also there alongside them. Just to be able to look outside of ourselves and go, yeah, that's how they approached it, and it probably benefit them is a super mature perspective on it. Now, you're the best of the best in this province, and I know that in conversation with many of my colleagues at Curling Alberta, we're so proud of you. We're so excited for the four of you. We know that your teammates are also incredible athletes too, as well. And you are inspiring the next group of curlers to be better. You're already inspiring your colleagues to be better, one another, because you're going to be stepping out on the ice probably in the next season against one another too, as well. With your experience, there's a kind of that responsibility from U18s to be able to pass on. We want to keep a little bit to ourselves, but what could you pass on from your experience to all of our viewers or the people in your age group, as a little bit of advice as they prepare to kind of establish themselves for the next season and, before they get into the off season? Let's go to Emma.
Yeah, so just like playing and just like take in every experience and take in everything that you can. The last week it went by so fast. I felt like it took a long time to get going, just because I was like really excited for it. But then once it got going, it was already over.
Right.
So just take in every experience that you can and try and absorb it all, because you never know when you're going to experience it again, and it goes really fast. So
Yeah. Fair. And Abby, you just worked a long shift at the pool, and I know that work-life balance has already set itself in, but when you think back on this season and you go stepping into next season, what's something that you'll bring forward from this championship? What's that little piece of advice that'll drive you for the next season?
I definitely think treating everything as a learning experience and learning from every opportunity I get. I think that's probably my biggest thing. Yeah.
You're so right. I mean, like, first of all, we're young people, but we're constantly learning, and learning never stops. And so being able to say and isolate everything is really difficult, but just being able to take it all in and learn from each one is so valuable. Peter, you've got an incredible team behind you, and they're all so worldly and so experienced in their own right. It's hard to kind of take our own advice right now, but what's something that you'll be using from this past experience moving forward?
I think it's very important to form a team that gets along really well and that where everyone likes each other and is on the same page about your goals and everything. Because if you're planning on curling competitively, you're going to be spending a lot of time with your team. So you have to make
Yeah.
sure that you all really enjoy the time together and you get along together well and it's a good fit.
Yeah, that makes me think a little bit about on some of the conversations I've had with others in the last this past year. And I mean, we could always say, well, we're sacrificing something or we're giving up something, but you're right. You do have to enjoy what you're doing with the people around you. And Jackson, it seems like you always enjoy the community that you're around. This experience has been a multiple experience for you. But what will you take and what would you provide your colleagues moving forward as a little piece of advice?
Yeah, for me, and I'm learning just like we all are, but I just tried to enjoy the journey this year, and it's a process. And I just like treat it like your last. We don't know when we're going to be back here, so each day at nationals, I just made sure to try and soak it all in. And even if things aren't going your way, you just want to be grateful that you got this opportunity. And for me, it's like I just want to be able to enjoy the moment while I'm there. Like if I look back, it's I want to win, but I also want to enjoy the friendships I've made along the way. And then, yeah, it's just like learn from the losses. And I think we all could agree this year, we've had some really good games, we've had some bad games, but it's like we've definitely probably all grown as players from this last season. And yeah, I want to take that into the off season the rest of the year.
All four of you just listening to you, and it's so incredible how much not only our game has changed, but also how much perspective our young people have on the sport now. And I'm not sure if that's because of the way we train, the way we grow up in curling, the way you've trained and grown up in curling. But just listening to the four of you, it's absolutely brilliant, and it warms my heart to know that like curling in your homes is in such a good place right now. And I'm sure that's the exact same way it is for your colleagues too, and for some of your peers across the province. Now, our last little panel question is talking about some of the rules and some of the aspects of the game that have changed over the last few years. And so when I was your age, curling looked a little bit different. And so I've had to go through a few learning curves. And right now, our game is slowly changing and transforming to better the game always, or at least better it in some perspectives. And so in the last couple of years, we've seen some rule changes like the no tick rule, the 5 rock rule. Right now, we're experiencing at our own national championships some changes that are more congruent to the World Curling Federation Championship, which is like the 1 60-second timeout, and then some of the format changes and how the playoffs look. You've played a lot this season, all four of you. Are there some rules or some changes or some aspects of the game that you truly believe are really beneficial to the game? Or are there some changes that you'd like to see in the future as you move not only from U18s into U20s, but also U20 and beyond? Emma, is there something about the game that you're like, you love, or is there some changes that you think might need to come in the future?
So for juniors, we have the coaching program. So our coaches get to sit on the ice with us, and we get interactions per end. So it's not really like a timeout, but you get to talk to your coach about strategy. And I feel like that has been really beneficial. And I think that it's very beneficial for juniors because it really creates a learning environment, and your coach is more involved. And yeah, so I feel like that's really beneficial for juniors especially.
I like that. Emma, what about you? Is there something that, like, in these rule changes that you really enjoy? Is there a change that you'd like to see moving forward?
I don't think so. Yeah.
You like the game as it is. It's good. It's easy to play.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can make it too complex. I know there's tons of conversation. We'll hear it throughout the Scotties and the Brier about, the balance between the game and viewership and what's going to make the game exciting, and then what's going to be progressive for the players and to continue to develop the game. So I agree. Like, I think the sport is in a good spot, and I'm glad that you enjoy it right now. Jackson, what do you know about the sport? What do you like about these rules? What would you like to see moving forward for the future of the game?
Yeah, I really love the coaches' interactions as well. Like last year was my first year skipping, and I think we got to use a lot of interactions just as learning opportunities and moments too. And I think that's what we got to remember at the junior level. Like we're all young and we're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's what we're going to learn. And so when our coaches can be out there helping us, and it felt like, good coaches got really rewarded, and I think it got to get showcased. And I think it, yeah, sparked a lot of great new conversations and ways I got to see the game as well. And then the new tick has been real, or the no tick rule has been really interesting as well. I really like it when I have to steal. I hate it when I don't because I know I can't tick anymore and I know it's going to get a little bit messy. And as a
Yeah,
skip, I'm like, oh, my end just got a lot harder for me. But yeah,
fair.
that's been super cool, and it's made you just elevate your game at the junior level as well. Like it has made seconds really important, and for leads too, it's like it's given them a new challenge. Like it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, you want to make sure that rock's on the center line or no one's happy. And I think that's been super cool. Like that's been fun for us to train this year. And that's given like my lead Nate like a new drive and motivation. He's like, it's a miss if it's not on the center line for me. And
Right.
yeah, that's been super cool to see as well.
I love how you summarized exactly what, like, Emma and Abby were alluding to about good coaches get rewarded when you can talk to your coaches and communicate them and use them as a resource on the ice. And I hope that whomever tunes into this, if they've got greater powers above and beyond us, I hope they really take your sentiments, because good coaches and rewarding good coaches breeds even better coaches, and the drive to want to be, a good supporter for young athletes. So I hope that they key into the three of you there. And Peter, you talked about an amazing coach in Reg. What about some of these rule changes? What about some of these aspects of the games? Do you like it? Would you like to see something different moving forward?
I really enjoyed the no tick rule and the 5 rock rule from a couple of years ago. I
Yeah,
think it helps keep curling interesting and help like strategy really become a major part of the game. Like you're not just
yeah,
hitting rocks every end. You actually have to sort of like think and line stuff up, and you can't just get like a 2 point lead and just win the game off that. So I
right.
think it's been really interesting, and it helps it become more exciting, more entertaining when there's all these rocks in play from the
Yeah.
5 rock and the no tick rule. I think that's been a really good thing.
Well, and I like how you said entertaining. I mean, we still want to have fun out there, right? And so we rely on our teammates to bring that joy, and we rely on the environment to bring that joy, but we're also still competing, and there still has to be some joy in that too. And if there's some variety and some excitement, it can also add to a little bit of positive stress, but also it can keep the game exciting for us too. Now, the four of you, I really thank you for your time. I know that we've been here for 45 minutes and we've hammered out a lot of great aspects of the game. But it is our Family Day broadcast, and I know that you're taking times from your family to sit down all together here tonight. And I know family is one of our greatest resources and our greatest supporters. Abby, your family is foundational in sport and in curling in our community. tell us a little bit more about your family, their role in curling, and how it's been supportive for you as an athlete.
Yeah, so my dad is also our coach. So he's coaching us every weekend we're playing. He's driving us to those spiels, whatever. Then my mom, she stays at home here. She's always getting us prepared for the week, if that's meals or whatever. And then also taking care of our dogs and our animals. So that's super helpful to know that that's taken care of us when we're away for the week. And then also my siblings have been super supportive with like everything nationals and just regular bonspiels, and then they're also quite successful themselves, so that's really, it makes me proud of them. So yeah.
And Peter, and we know that family is so incredible, and your team is like a small family in itself. And what is the role and importance of family for you as a developing athlete?
Yeah, family's been really important in my curling career. My grandpa, he had a long career of curling, and he sort of helped me get into the game, and he's always helped give me advice and tell me stories from his curling days, which has really helped me. And then of course my parents have always supported me, taking me to all the bonspiels, paying for all my equipment, helping organize stuff within the team.
Yeah.
It's been really I'm really lucky to have such a great family and great support.
It really does start at our own home ends too as well, and our home has to be ready to make that commitment. And Jaxon, your family has uprooted themselves for your curling and for your successes and made tons of changes. So tell me a little bit about how family has been like a great support for you as a developing athlete.
Yeah, I've been super grateful, and it's just been incredible. Like I wouldn't be in the places I've got to go without them, and yeah, I'm just forever grateful for that. And they moved with me last year to Sherwood Park, and it's just cut our driving time and our travel time, and it's allowed me just to focus so much more on training and competing, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And I mean, like my mom's our team manager, so she's making sure we've got everything booked. She's getting the snacks ready, she's doing all that, and it's just been incredible. And then I just got to work out a super cool dynamic with my parents, and I'm forever grateful for it. And yeah, they just allow me to kind of go to work for the week and just whatever they can do to support. And I'll be truly grateful for that for forever.
And Emma, I know that your curling team is literally a family. But also there's a ton of value in that. And so tell me a little bit more about how you and your family within the family of your family team has allowed you to be the best athlete that you can be.
Yeah, so I have like loads of support behind me, with like they're always pushing me to be better, and like supporting me in every way that they can. And yeah, I'm just like super thankful. And all three of everybody else said like, yeah, it said it perfectly.
Well, the four of you, I know that I told you it was only going to be 30 to 40 minutes, and here we are at the 50-minute mark, but I'm not done with you yet. I truly thank you for spending some time with us this evening and with Albertans and whomever is listening across the nation. I know some of our friends and families and curious minds are going to want to listen into what you have to say, but I have this section called Evan's Goes or Woes. Would you be willing to entertain me and play them with me as our final send-off for our home end? Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. Okay, all right. So I'm not going to put them on the screen because then all of our faces go all over the place. So goes or woes, truthfully, you just need to give it a go. If it's like, it's your jam, you like it, it's your thing, you're into it, you can explain why, or you can just say, that's a go. And the woes are like, it's not for me. It's not my journey. I don't know about this. And then everybody can judge you afterwards behind closed doors and off the screen. Okay. So I give you three of them. I'll just say it and then you can just chime in. We'll go free for all. I won't even call on your names. You just tell me if it's a go or a woe and a little bit of a why. Okay. So the first one, we're going to start off easy. Go or woe? Pickleball. Pickleball. The largest, fastest growing sport in North America. Pickleball. Go or woe? Who's going to start us off?
It's a
I'll
go
say
for
go.
me. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry.
We got two goes.
I'll say go too.
Peter.
I'll say whoa.
Peter, you're the only whoa. Why whoa?
I just think that it's just less fun, less I don't know.
Sure.
Just I feel like there's lots of other better sports. Like I feel like it's just like
Sure.
tennis, but just worse.
Fair. Why the three goes? Like, are you like secret pickleball players? Is this your next transitional sport?
Well,
Yeah,
I
oh, sorry, you
also,
go.
oh, sorry. I also
There you
play a
go.
bit of tennis, so it's like I don't know, it's like a twist on that. I don't know.
Jackson, why do you like pickleball?
Well, they have it in Sherwood Park, and
Sure.
I just see it every time we go by. So I'm like, I gotta try this. And my coach says he's really good at it, so I just want to train so I can beat him at it. Because like I've never beat him in curling, so like, and he can't slide anymore, so he's like gonna retire a champion. So I got to beat him in something.
So you've got other motivations, Emma.
Yeah.
Why did you say go?
We had to do it in gym class one time, and I found it so fun. So I
Good.
just enjoyed it.
I love that. I'm a big fan of it. It's I've never sweat more in my life, and I've sweat a lot. And pickleball is a grody one. Okay, the second one. I'll call on you so that we can get our sentiments in. So we'll start off with Abby. Jennifer Jones's retirement, newly announced retirement. Go or whoa? Do we want her to go, or we're like, whoa, lady, hold on, we need you?
Oh, well, I'm gonna say whoa because I want her. I don't know. I like watching her, but it's also do what's best for you. Like,
Oh, I thought you were gonna say go, like give me some room to get in there.
oh, no, yeah, but yeah.
Sure. Emma, go or whoa?
I'm gonna say, I don't know. I'm gonna say go because, I mean, like you said, leave room for us.
Fair.
She's been
That's
around for a long time, and yeah, like she's grown the sport. So,
sure.
but
Time, different times. Now, Peter and Jackson, of course, like you're only going to play against her, at least in today's day and age right now, in mixed doubles if you choose to, or in mixed. But Peter, go or whoa?
I'll say whoa. I think it's
Yeah,
a little sad because she's had such a great career.
sure.
But
Yeah.
I guess whatever's best for her is really all that makes up that decision. But I still
Well,
think
her
it's sad to
career's
see her.
not over yet, right? Like she could win this thing. And then the question is like, what does she do? Like, is she going to just retire and say, I'm not going to a world championship, right? So
That's
she
true.
needs to hold
That would
on.
be interesting to see.
Yeah, backtrack a retirement. Jackson, go or whoa?
I'll say go, but I think she's just had an amazing career and it's just something
Yeah.
like to admire. But yeah, I'm just curious to see like what the next generation of young curlers looks like in Manitoba. I mean, we just saw like Team Hayward win the U18, so I'm excited to see like if anyone can do or
So
close
true.
to what she's done. But yeah, a lot of respect for her.
Awesome. Okay, and the final one, and then we're going to close out our evening. Now, one thing I've noticed at the Scotties is that the back of the jackets are missing the provincial crest, the one thing that that we all strive for as athletes is to wear, especially for us as Albertans, the Alberta crest and the wild rose. So provincial crests and the big old shield there with our mountains and our fields and our wild rose. Go or whoa? And let's start with Peter.
I'll say go. I think going to nationals this year for the first time and being able to wear the Alberta jacket with the Alberta crest was really special. And I think it's really cool to play for your province with that big crest on the back. So
Yeah.
I'll say go.
Lovely. Jackson.
I'll say go. You always want to get your first crest, and I think
Yeah.
it's just we all are gonna remember that for forever. I mean, I was team two this year, and we didn't have them as well, and I definitely every time I put that jacket on, it's like that's just something you notice. So it's definitely motivation that you want to be team one because getting that crest back, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
just something super cool.
Fair. Abby, the provincial crest and our lovely colors that we have. Go or whoa?
I'm also gonna say go with that one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I feel like it gives more to earning your spot as an Alberta team.
I felt that. I definitely felt that. And Emma, go or whoa?
go. It's such an honor to wear the crest, and like it's something that you strive for and something that you always want. So yeah.
Well, the four of you, thank you for entertaining me. Thank you for also playing my little game that probably means nothing to anybody else, but to the five of us here this evening. But I truly want to thank you so much for spending your evening. I know we went right the full hour, and I know there's lots of curling on TV left, but our curling community is so grateful to have four ambassadors and four leaders like you. I know that our viewers and the people at home who are trying to craft and create events moving forward for you and for our future competitors, they're listening in to you to be able to find out what is needed, how to support our athletes moving forward, what kind of culture they want to bring into the curling community or to maintain so that young athletes like yourself can truly curl for the rest of your lives. I am looking forward to playing against the four of you in some capacity. Maybe my knees will be out by that time, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the ice and not just across from you here on the screen. So I thank you so much for our time together. Now, I am going to send us into our exit. So stay along with me as I close out our broadcast today, okay? So viewers, you had it here. You heard it first from Jackson, from Emma, from Peter, and from Abby, our U18 Alberta representatives. They are marvelous. They are wonderful. If you see them in the community, if you see them at the local club, please don't hesitate to talk to them, to draw on their experience and their expertise. They are going to be the next best thing in our province. I guarantee it. They already are. We're going to see them for years to come. Now, if you are following along with the Scotties, make sure that you are tuning into the mega jackpot. That is guaranteed $50,000. So spend your money wisely, be appropriate with it, but also get that good chunk of change if you need be. For those of you who have any questions, concerns, comments, or you want to share a little bit of insight into the curling world, or you have an event that you want to touch up on, feel free to email me at thehomend@curlingalberta.ca. I really want to thank you again, the four of you, for a wonderful evening. I thank the broadcasting crew of Brittany, Tyler, Raymond, and Jill. We've had a marvelous time running our broadcast and sharing with our viewers. Our last broadcast with Aaron Sochinsky had over 1,000 views. We want you to keep clicking on our broadcast. We want you to keep listening into the insights of these amazing athletes. And tune in next week for a very special pre-Brier guest. That's going to be my Easter egg for those of you listening in right now. So without further ado, I'm going to end the broadcast here now. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your family day long weekend. What is the rest of it? Enjoy your families. And of course, continue to make curling your home. Take care, everybody. Have a lovely night.